This video looks at the idea of equivalent equations being derived through a process of performing like mathematical operations on both sides of an equation. Two equations are equivalent if we can go from one to the other by performing the same mathematical operation on both sides of the equal sign for either equation. So let's start with 7 lots of n. 7 times n plus 10 is 24. And we want to know, is it equivalent to 7 times n equals 14? Well, let's start with 7n. 7 times n, 7n plus 10 equals 24. And if we subtract 10 from both sides, so we've got 7n plus 10, our first operation is take 10 from both sides. Remember, the equal sign requires that what we do to one side of the equation we must do to the other side of the equation in order to keep it equal. So if we take 10 from here, then we must take 10 from the other side. If I were to perform some other operation, any other operation, adding 50, then I'd have to do it to both sides. So whatever operation you perform to an equation, because of the equal sign, you must, and because it's an equation, you must do the same to both sides. So here I'm going to take 10 from both sides. If I were adding 50, I'd add 50 here and add 50 here. If I was multiplying by 2, I would multiply by 2 here and multiply by 2 over here. Whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other. And in this case, when we take 10 from both sides, we get 7n here, plus 10 minus 10. Well, plus 10 minus 10 is 0. We're just left with 7n. And over here, 24 minus 10 is 14. So we've gone from 7n plus 10 equals 24, subtracted 10 from both sides, and we've got 7n equals 14. So 7n plus 10 equals 24 is equivalent to 7n equals 14. We could have gone in the other direction. We could have started with 7n equals 14, and we could have added 10 to both sides. And when we do that, we get 7n plus 10 here, and 14 plus 10 is 24, and we get back to the other equation. So these two equations, 7n plus 10 equals 24 and 7n equals 14, are equivalent to each other. Now we're going to perform the same operation indicated in the brackets to both sides of the equations given below, and the brackets here will tell us what operation to perform on both sides. So let's start with 5m equals 12. Here we are, 5m equals 12, and in brackets we were asked to subtract 2 from both sides. So we end up with 5m minus 2 equals 12 minus 2. That gives us 5m minus 2 equals 10. And so 5m equals 12 is equivalent to 5m minus 2 equals 10. When we say equivalent, whatever the solution for the unknown m is, it will be the same in both equations. Let's have a look at another example. 2 plus k equals 5. And we're going to multiply both sides by 3. So 3 times, now to multiply 2 plus k by 3, then we have to put brackets around it because we want 3 times all of that, all of it, which means we must put brackets around it. And just as we do times 3 on the left-hand side, we must do times 3 on the right-hand side. So what we get is 3 times 2 plus k equals 15. Now, the solution to this equation is 2 plus 3 equals 5, so k must be 3. So k equals 3 is the solution to this equation. But 2 plus k equals 5 is equivalent to this equation down here, 3 lots of 2 plus k equals 15. Now, equivalent equations mean that if k equals 3 is the solution here, then k equals 3 is also the solution here. That is what we mean by this equation being equivalent to that equation. They have the same solution. K equals 3 here, 2 plus 3 equals 5, and here 2 plus 3 is 5 times 3 is 15. That's the meaning behind equivalence. Here, 4 times r is 30. Well, we want to divide both sides by 2. So 4r divided by 2 is the same as 30 over 2. What we do to one side, we must do to the other. 4 divided by 2 is 2 times r. 30 divided by 2 is 15. So 2 times r equals 15 is equivalent to 4 times r equals 30. And for the next equation, we want to multiply both sides by 2. So 5w minus 1 equals 18. Multiply both sides by 2. So we want 2 lots of, in brackets, 5w minus 1 is equal to 2 lots of 18. Well, on the left-hand side, we have this object here, and 2 lots of 18 is 36. Our next step was then to add 3 to both sides. From the previous page, we wanted to take this original equation, multiply both sides by 2, and then add 3 to both sides. So we end up with 2 times, in brackets, 5w minus 1 plus 3 is equal to 36 plus 3. And when we collect terms, we end up with 2 times, in brackets, 5w minus 1 plus 3 is equal to 39. What operation must be performed on both sides of the equation 4y plus 7 equals 28 to make it equivalent to 4y minus 3 equals 18? Alright, so let's start with the first equation, 4y plus 7 equals 28, and let's try subtracting 10 from both sides. So we get 4y plus 7 minus 10 equals 28 minus 10. Remember, we must do the same operation to both sides, otherwise you don't have, otherwise the equation is no longer equal. We must do the same operation to both sides, so we must take 10 from both sides. When we do that, 7 minus 10 gives us minus 3. 28 minus 10 gives us 18. And so this equation, 4y minus 3 equals 18, is equivalent to 4y plus 7 equals 28. Alright, now in the description below this video there is a link to a worksheet with a few practice questions in it, and then the link below that contains the solution to those equations.